This is Deborah Taveras with StopTheCrime.net, and today is a very, very somber day for our team at Stop the Crime. But before I get into what we all face in one aspect of what we all face, I would like to, of course, invite all of you to subscribe to our video YouTube channel on StopTheCrime.net and press the bell notification. And please help us get this information out far and wide while we are still able to get this information out far and wide. Our time for communication is narrowing, and I'm going to go over that in a moment. I want to remind all of you what was told us back in 1981 by the former CIA director, William Casey. William Casey said, and I quote him, "We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false." And it's not just the American public, it's the global public as well, and we can see that happening right now worldwide. COVID is a business. The attack on us is a business, it's commerce. We're going to talk a little bit for a moment or two about how we really became in the position that we are now, so that for those of you that have not heard some of our prior information, you'll be reminded of what we face. Because what we face is the end of humanity and global upheaval unlike ever before experienced, surpassing what our grandparents, those of you that have grandparents, could remember in the Great Recession. We face a greater change to our lives. And I want to remind you that Senate Report 93549 revealed long ago that we are the enemy of the state. We're all the enemy. And I can say to you that what we're seeing right now in the NASA war document, of course I've talked about that for many years, and it's actually on StopTheCrime.net. And the title is Future Strategic Issues, Future Warfare, circa 2025. It says in this document that all the technologies that are discussed are fully operational now. Everything is operational. So I'm going to bounce around. I don't have any particular order in mind other than to get out as much information as I can right this minute. I will tell you that you've heard me talk about truth trauma over the years. And truth trauma really doesn't describe how our team at StopTheCrime.net is feeling these days, as we're watching much of what we have been discussing for many years come to fruition. So it is a sad day, and but there is joy and happiness also, and we're going to work on showing you what you can do, given what we're going to tell you is being done to us. So what we're seeing right now is a worldwide impact of ongoing IT revolution upon the global societies. What we're seeing right now is a forced transition, whether you like it or not. And what we're seeing is telecommuting, tele-shopping, tele-entertainment, tele-travel, tele-education, telemedicine, telecommerce, telepolitics, and telesocialization. This is on page 16 of the NASA war document. And I would implore upon each and every single one of you to take a look at this document. It reveals much of what is occurring on the larger sense, because I'm going to be focusing specifically on Rockefeller and Rothschild's plans to literally bankrupt the global economy. This is a plan. Everything that we are observing that is occurring right now is a plan, a stealth plan that has been hatched many, many, many years ago. I'm going to remind you what the Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars document has told us. And I'm going to actually read some of that to you right now, because it's imperative as I continue to go through the plan that we all face as a result of COVID and the virus and the business. So again, in the Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars document, which you can download off of stopthecrime.net, and we've discussed this for a very long time. And in that document, it reveals that in 1954, at their first meeting at the Bilderberg Hotel, the global elite agreed to a corporative government taking control of the U.S. population. They have taken control of the global population. And of course, we are USA Inc. The U.S. military described this program in detail in a technical manual dated May of 1979 called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. This plan was a result of the joint efforts of Rockefeller, Harvard, and the U.S. Air Force. Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. On page 4, it told us this: it's patently impossible to discuss social engineering or the automation of a society, the engineering of societal automation systems, silent weapons, on a national or worldwide scale, without implying extensive objectives of social control and destruction of human life, slavery, and genocide. Now I'm going to pause for a moment because I have many videos on stopthecrime.net about genocide. I have multiple videos on many of the topics you're going to hear me discuss right now. So I'm going to go on a little bit more with silent weapons. For those of you that may not have had an opportunity to read it, I would again ask you to please read it. The Manual of Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars in and of itself is an analog, a declaration of intent. Such a writing must be secured from public scrutiny. Otherwise, it might be recognized as a technically formal declaration of domestic warfare. Furthermore, whenever any person or group of persons in position of great power and without full knowledge and consent of the public uses their knowledge and methodologies for economic conquest, it must be understood that a state of domestic warfare exists between the people in control and the group of persons and the public. We are at war. We are at war. On page 5, the original purpose of the operations research was to study the strategic and tactical problems of air and land defense with the objective of effective use of limited military resources against foreign enemies. It was about logistics. It was soon recognized by those in position of power, Rockefeller and Rothschild, that the same methodologies could be useful for totally controlling our society, and it has. With these 3 inventions under their direction, those in positions of power strongly suspected that it was possible for them to control the world with the push of a button. They are now controlling the world with the push of a button. Immediately, the Rockefeller Foundation got onto the ground floor by making a 4-year grant to Harvard College, funding the Harvard Economic Research Project for the study, the structure of American economy. 1 year later, in 1949, the United States Air Force joined in. It's important to understand that all branches of military are under the control of those in control, the 1% of the 1%. Make no mistake. We are engaged in a warfare of proportions that most people find difficult to wrap their heads around. I did, so I understand. And before I knew what I'm able to tell you now, I did not know. I did not. And it was with great trepidation, and it was great reluctance, and it was also with difficulty in believing that my journey has come to this place in time. And this is a very difficult place in time. So, the Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars goes on to tell us, war is therefore the balancing system by killing the true creditors. That's all of us. We, the people, that's all of us, worldwide, killing the true creditors. The public, which they have taught to exchange true value for inflated currency, and falling back on whatever is left of the resources of nature and regeneration of those resources. I'm going to read that again, because what we're going to get into right now is going to underscore the ability of our future survival. And again, our lives are going to depend on falling back on whatever is left of the resources of nature and the regeneration of those resources. Then, in 1976, Congress decided to modify the national state of emergency, but continued to classify the American people as the enemy. We are the enemy of the state. The populations worldwide are the enemy of this corporate takeover, Earth Inc. We're all the enemy. That's why we are being set upon with poisonous water, increasing frequencies that are diminishing our ability to continue to survive. The 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, the global grid, the smart meters, the wireless water meters, and the concern of 5G. We are the enemy. And the future, by those that are in control, depend on 5G being rolled out. That is a requirement for the future transition of humans into transhumanism. So we're going to talk about a little bit more about what has happened and why, and then we're going to get into a specific document. And I want to, first of all, acknowledge those that comment under our videos. We're listening to you. We're reading them. While we are unable to respond often because of the intensity of our work at this point and what we're doing to survive, we're going to be discussing that, how people can survive, what we must do to feel a level of empowerment in a time in which those that are in control have control of all the technologies, all the weather weapons, control of every aspect of the delivery systems that are causing us pain, destruction, relocation from properties, creating fires, outages, power outages, mass evacuations, smoke, mass hurricanes, tornadoes, diminishing our growing lands, and our food supply. That's what we face, and much more. So everything the corporation and international bankers have been doing is one entire fraud. And sadly, most people are not recognizing this. While I'm going to defer to the discussion of COVID and 5G and chemtrail relationship, which we're well aware of, to those doctors that have already outlined those, and we've posted that on stopthecrime.net in our hot topics. You can find many of those articles and documented evidence of this weaponized technology of fear and how we have been taken over by fear. People are hiding in their houses, truly believing that they're going to die. And of course, we know with our diminished immune systems, intentionally so, many will. We know that the disinformation and manipulation by those in control have been to centralize control of all people, all land, all resources, all technologies and economies. And that's what we're seeing now, centralization. We must expose the hidden secrets of these corporations, universities, and institutions that have set upon us with emerging technologies that are rebuilding the world's transportation, civil, manufacturing, and physical infrastructure with cyber infrastructure, computers, networks, and sensors, the transhumanism agenda. I want to discuss what all of you are seeing now, the PSYOPs, with the often daily briefings from the presidential task force that you're seeing on television. I want to break it down because I've done that in many videos that I do have posted on stopthecrime.net, but the advisory boards and the task force are PSYOPs. It's the illusion of experts weighing in and making decisions for you that are based on evidence that will best serve you. This could not be further from the truth. What we are experiencing and what is happening right now is, of course, we're the enemy. And what we must understand, absolutely must understand, and this has been pointed out now by many doctors, and I'm going to underscore this. It's important to know, many of you now do, but it's worth saying this again. The CDC is a private, for-profit corporation doing business. The CDC is not a government health advocacy organization. It is a corporation listed on Dun & Bradstreet and headquartered in the state of Georgia, with strong ties to the pharmaceutical industry. Therefore, their recommendations are influenced by the fiscal health of their corporation. Understand, when your local news media and outlets and your local health agencies tell you that they're following CDC guidelines are a business of vaccinations and vaccines. Make no mistake. Make no mistake. The state and public health institutions are also private, for-profit corporations doing business. When I hear our local health CEO advisor talk to us about social distancing here in Sonoma County, where I am, I know that she is working for the cabal. She's taking marching orders from those that are set to destroy us. And the media is compliant. We know this. So the state and public health institutions, as I said, are private, for-profit corporations doing business. Medical clinic records are frequently reviewed by state public health departments, which are also for-profit corporations listed on Dun & Bradstreet. Did you know that? Did you know that? Who receive money and compensation from the CDC to perform their functions. Therefore, state public health departments' recommendations and actions are influenced by the fiscal health of their own corporations. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. This is a vast network that is void of ethics and morality and is set to destroy everything that is good and decent. Everything. The American Academy of Pediatrics is also a private for-profit corporation doing business. The American Academy of Pediatrics is not a health advocacy organization. It is a trade association corporation also listed on Dun & Bradstreet, headquartered in the state of Illinois, whose monetary compensation from vaccine manufacturers contributes to the fiscal health of their corporation. Physicians get more money for each fully vaccinated child from the CDC, the World Health Organization, and all of the other funders, Bill Gates, the Clinton Foundation, and more. Physicians who are intentionally misinformed by the CDC, and I said intentionally misinformed by the CDC and Big Pharma, cannot be sued for vaccination injuries. You know that. They are paid higher insurance reimbursement rates for each fully vaccinated child. This is profits for science. Motivate vaccine mandates. So as we are all sequestered into our self-imposed prisons within our homes and hiding over a virus that does not transmit from person to person, you have time to look at some of these documents that I am referring to, and I would wish you would. Don't be duped into the virtual reality television and Netflix and HBO and all of the other phony entertainment to distract you while you are being destroyed. Your children are being destroyed. Our country, our cities are being bankrupt. Here in Sonoma County, we were already in a very precarious situation, as many counties are across the country, because we had not only in 3 years experienced massive fires every 3 years, massive smoke and lung damage. Remember, lung damage. COVID, smoke, lung damage. Think of Australia. Think of all of the locations worldwide that are being hit by directed energy weapons, causing fires, destroying homes, and smoke. Smoke is a weapon. I have much of that information on stopthecrime.net. Again, I want to underscore the task force and advisory groups were set up by the World Bank and the Rand Corporation as massive disinformation campaigns. Who runs your cities are the international bankers, the big pharma also, as well as the IMF and the United Nations. Your cities are operating under those guidelines, and your staffers in all your cities and all the public agencies are putting forth the agenda that we now see transpiring worldwide, where we are locked in place in our homes. We're seeing different levels of what being locked in place looks like. I'm hearing from friends all over the world on what it looks like in their country, and it's barbaric. It's inhumane. But humanity has no definition in what is planned for us. So I'm going to go over a document. Again, I want to thank those that brought this document to my attention, and I'm going to go through it because this is the Rothschild-Rockefeller plan to bankrupt the world. And I'm going to spend some time going over this, and we're going to talk about what we're seeing happening in real time, because you're going to be able to compare what this document tells you it is. Again, now this is going to be under the show notes of this video. You'll be able to pull up this document in its entirety. I'm going over aspects of the document that are just excerpts. So you will want to possibly review this for yourselves, and I would ask that you do. And please share this far and wide. This is the Rockefeller plan to use bioweapons to impose martial law, one quarantine at a time. The name of this document is Scenarios for Future Technology and International Development. These are the plans to allow for absolute massive achievement of scenario planning. This is script writing in advance of creating the realities that are being created for us. That's why this is important to understand this document. And I've gone over many documents over the years. These are all evidence-based documents. It is in their words. And as I go through this, this is not to scare you. This is to empower you by knowing what their plans are, so you can decide what you're going to do to survive. Because again, I read to you just a bit ago in Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, we're going to have to rely upon what is left in nature. And that's what this plan is going to divulge. It's going to be up to every single one of you on how you choose going forward. And I can tell you that being metered, any type of metering, be it water, be it electricity, be it gas, or even propane, you're hooked up to a system that is set to be withdrawn from you. And we will go over that also. But it's important to understand about this document The Rockefeller plan to bankrupt the world, along with Rothschild and the other purveyors of this evil. The report is the result of extensive effort and collaboration among Rockefeller Foundation's initiative staff, foundation grantees, and external experts. The Rockefeller Foundation and the GBN would like to extend special thanks to all of the individuals who contributed their thoughtfulness to this plan and their expertise to this plan throughout this script writing scenario. Others' enthusiasm and participation in interviews and workshops and the ongoing iteration of the scenario made this co-creative process more stimulating and engaging than it could ever have been otherwise. So I want all of you to understand before I break into this, because this is going to be outrageous. It is outrageous. This is exactly what you're seeing in the daily briefings with the task force that is being shown to you on television with Fauci and all of the other quote-unquote leaders of expert advice and telling us how we need to shelter in place and destroy the economies and ratchet down our lives to the year 1700, because these have been the plans all along. They're following a script. This is scenario planning, and it is fully engaged now. I want to, I'm going to cut this off at a half an hour and have a second part to this as I break into the details of this document. But I want to remind you all what we have been told. And we have been told that excuse me for a moment here, because I want to get this spot on, and I intend to. We have been told that land cannot be treated as an ordinary asset or controlled by individuals and subject to the pressures and inefficiencies of the market. Private land ownership is also a principal instrument of accumulation and concentration of wealth, therefore contributes to social injustice. This is a report from the United Nations Habitat Conference in 1976. Now, before I get into the second part of this discussion today, I want to go over something most important. It's about the Wildlands Project. It's about the closings of all your parks, beaches, walkways, and now we're finding that people that park and watch the sunset in San Diego, California, are being issued $1,000 fines. Soon we will be issued fines for going outside our homes. This is an intentional shrinking of our ability to access land. And this was foretold in the Wildlands Project. Now, many of you may know, many of you may not, what is involved in the Wildlands Project and in the deep ecology. And I want to outline that now, because as I go over this Rockefeller document in this next segment, you can reflect on what I'm telling you right now. The goal of the Wildlands Project is to set aside more than 50% of the North American continent as wildlands. Now, we're not only just talking about America, we're talking about worldwide set-aside reserves and preserves where human access is denied. It's for the preservation, we're being told, of biological diversity. The project has sought to create reserve networks across all continents. Reserves are made up of the following. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here. I'm going to hit the high parts. You need to know you're seeing this happening now wherever you live, whatever country you're in, whatever island you're living on, preserves are being set aside. So they're saying that they are creating cores which are created from public lands such as national forests and parks. Our national forests and parks are being shut down. Even some of our bike paths we are not able to ride bikes on now.